Greg and Richard right here on Talking Red.
Hello and welcome to Talking Reds, a Nottingham Forest podcast. I'm Greg Oram, and with me, of course, is my podcast partner, Richard Spray. Our guest panelists for this are Premier Elliott, and from down under, we have Scott Terry. Well then, that was magnificent, wasn't it? Not a smash and grab at all, not survival. It was control, authority, presence. In Istanbul last night, Nottingham Forest didn't just cope, they owned the occasion. From early on, Forest looked dominant, confident in possession, aggressive without the ball, and completely unfazed by the noise around them. This was a European away performance played on Forest's terms. Forest moved the ball with purpose, winning duels, controlling territory, and looking like a side that knew exactly what it wanted from the night. There was calm, there was bite, and there was quality all over the pitch. Players demanding the ball, passing lanes opening, a team playing with belief and playing well. And that matters because this wasn't just about the result. It was about how it looked. Organised, assertive, confident. A Forest side that felt comfortable in its own skin and more importantly, looked like it belonged there under the new manager. So we'll start by putting that apart, what Forest did right, why it worked, and which performances really set the tone. And then comes the immediate test of balance, because the Premier League brings Liverpool to the City Ground on Sunday. Momentum is high, confidence is flowing. The question now isn't can Forest play like that, it's how you manage it, harness it, and carry it into a league game that still carries huge weight.
One back for Forest though by Murillo and then Anderson. Murillo back on the ball and gliding forward here, the big Brazilian number 5. Excellent run, there's the shot, oh it's in! Murillo back in the team with a brilliant individual goal. He's gone towards the near foot, got it flick, oh it's 2-0! They totally switched off Fenerbahçe.
Tell you what a header it is at the front post. I mean the one at the back post is good.
Played it through, Gibbs White. Jesus is there as well. Gibbs White then stumbled and puts it in, and the flag stays down.
Oh, it's tight.
It is tight. They'll take a look at it, but right now it's 3-0 to Forest, and Morgan Gibbs White scored. Forest have won it, and they've won it at a canter in Istanbul tonight.
Well, it was everything we hoped and dreamed it might be, because, you know, there's been a lot of talk about relegation all of a sudden and how this competition might be getting put to the side and all eyes on staying in the Premier League. But he went for it last night and we saw immediately the calling card, as my good friend in America likes to say, or the MO of Vitor Pereira from the very start. We know and we've read that he is a guy who comes in and gets instant results and instant things happening. And boy, we saw that last night. I'm going to quickly jump into the comments and say good morning to Gary Lamb, who's with us. He says he wasn't too bad. 3-star Reds. Some Turks are on the pitch. I think it's all over. Well, it is now. Big Arn is with us with the Baby Guinnesses. Hey up, good morning to you. And a good morning and from sunny Gosport. Chris Dent is giving us a hello from down south where I spent many of my formative years. So yeah, it's been a while since I was in Gosport. Welcome to you, and Mark as well with the £2. Thank you for that. He says, I raise my glass to all that travelled, you Reds. Okay, join us on social media, all the channels, like subscribe, etc., etc. Richard Spray, man, that was good, wasn't it? I mean, let's go straight to the team selection, because that was a big thing we were talking about. He went strong, didn't he? And boy, that really counted.
Yeah, I think that was a breath of fresh air, wasn't it? Because I think we were all kind of like, at least I was in that sort of mindset of like, oh, let's balance it out. Let's like rest some of these players. Let's really, you know, get ourselves geared up for Liverpool and just hope for a 1-1 draw. And thankfully, Vitor is a million miles better at how he needs to set his team up, because he's obviously a professional football manager and knows infinitely more than I ever will know. But I'm so glad to see that he did that, because I think it does set the right tone. I think you guys were saying this as well in the preview. set the right tone, get that win under your belt so that you go in with momentum against Liverpool and a little bit of confidence. But yeah, it's just nice to see him allowing the boys to have some license to play with a little bit more freedom. There was definitely purpose. I mean, we long complained about there being no plans. There was no evident plan, at least under Dyche, and it felt like there was last night. And Greg, we talked about just the space that we needed to create, the way that we needed to move around a little bit more with a little bit more energy and a little bit more intent, and that was all there. I mean, there was just some beautiful give and goes and things of that nature, and so it was just great to see. And we made them look pedestrian, and no offense to anybody that are Fenerbahçe fans, but I thought we did make them look pedestrian. I mean, they weren't particularly great either, kind of like the Spurs match where Spurs weren't great, but we definitely took advantage of it, and I think we controlled the match from minute one.
Elliott, good morning to you, or good afternoon as it is now. Good to have you back with us. Thank you for joining us. From the opening exchanges, Elliott, Forest looked settled and confident on the ball in a hostile stadium. What stood out to you about how Forest managed that first 20 minutes? Thinking about tempo, maybe, not letting Fenerbahçe feed off the crowd.
It was kind of a good morning and good afternoon, everybody, as well. By the way, it was kind of like we were really, really good defensive wise, but we were also really, really good attack wise as well. So it was kind of a mixture of Nuno's defensive style and Ange's all-out attack, but with some sense of decorum. This team finally realised that they can play. They always seem to turn it on in these sort of games, and that's where I thought we bettered Fenerbahçe. Really, we were just sort of more up for it. The midfield looked great, defence looked great. Everyone played like 8s, 9s, and even 10s. So that's my response.
Thank you. No, and Scott, from your point of view, obviously Sean Dyche is gone, and we won't be talking about him really. I mean, we are still in that kind of transition. Just kind of give us your thoughts on that change. We haven't heard from you since it happened. And when you see Forest perform like that under the new manager, does it make it more palatable? And you think, well, actually, you know what, the club seemed like they got it right.
Yeah, it was a really good performance from the team, and yeah, it was. I struggled a bit when Dyche went. I wasn't sure, but then when you see the team put a performance in like that, and I think the words that I've been hearing from Pereira, the new manager, is around sort of freedom and also the quality of football which the team are playing. So I think some of the language he's using as well is sort of he's hopefully kind of feeding into the players. Look, it was a great performance. I mean, it was, you could argue, sensational, to be honest with you. We to put that performance in first leg of it of the Europa home and away fixture. We took control early, exactly as you say, Greg. And what a cracking goal! What a cracking goal from Murillo. So good to see him score the goal, step out of defence, have that confidence, and play with the freedom that I mentioned. I think that the sort of language that we're hearing from Pereira, play with that freedom. What a strike! I mean, it goes, breaks through, left foot shot, posh. It was great to see him score. Such a good goal. I felt like we were sort of energetic as well. We looked really solid. I think as well for me, I thought the midfield in particular, I thought Sangar, Anderson with Morgan, it felt as if this time it was almost like Anderson pushed slightly further up and he was playing more maybe as 2/8s. Him and Morgan were playing more as 2/8s, and they were leaving Sangar just to sit there as the 6. And what a game Sangar had as well. I mean, you could say that all those midfield three, all of them had a fantastic game. And it was great to use the word again, the freedom. It's great to see them play with that sort of freedom. They were turning, they were looking forward, they were trying to play balls in through channels. It wasn't just immediately, we're just going to go wide and see if the winger can do something. We were actually playing through the midfield, which I think is really refreshing as well. So, really fantastic performance. It was, as I mentioned just before off air, it was a very early start here. It was actually a 3:45 a.m. kickoff here. in Queensland in Australia. Although I didn't make it up for that. I think I got down there with about 30 minutes to go. I checked the score as soon as I got out of bed, and I'm like, that's just typical. Forest scored 3 goals, and I was in bed for the 3. But I came downstairs and watched the last sort of 20-25 minutes, and then watched some of the commentary. And the commentary over here as well were very complimentary about the performance, how we played. I think you just mentioned as well, every player. I can't think of any player that didn't really get sort of eight or 9. Very, very solid performance all round. Great team performance. Very happy, but want to keep my feet on the floor as well.
We know that we've got good players. They've always been there. They've been there the whole season, and so it just looks like the messaging, the confidence, the approach, the tactics. These things matter. I mean, newsflash, everybody, these things matter. Because you look at the likes of Murillo, Richard, none of these goals were against the run of play because we were dominant last night. From the off, I mean, first 12 minutes, we literally had nearly 90% of the ball. I think it was on 13 minutes that I was looking that Fenerbahçe got the ball into their kind of like back line a little bit and played around with it, but did nothing of it. As Fletch was saying on commentary here in the UK, their possession that they had was largely in their own defence. So we weren't really troubled, but we were dominating, Richard, and we were looking to play through the lines. And Scott's right. I mean, he name-checked Sangar. He was magnificent. But Murillo gets the goal, finally, that he's been teasing us with since he arrived. And we got him breaking out of the back line, interchanging with Elliott, shrugging off Kante, who was non-existent, by the way. He's a shadow of a former self. And he unleashes the left foot shot that we all see fly into the goal. It was a fantastic goal. But he wasn't doing that under Sean Dyche. And there's been plenty of noise around that Murillo in particular hasn't been very happy with Sean Dyche. In fact, I'm hearing from my source that there was a very big falling out with Murillo early on in the Sean Dyche tenure. They were complaining about his weight. They were complaining about other things as well. And so it felt like, and the noise coming out is that, yes, there have been injuries, but I mentioned it in the last pod, and it's not going away that maybe the injury really wasn't that bad at all. And Murillo was just looking to down tools a little bit. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. And, I don't want people coming in here saying, oh, you're conspiracy theory and all that kind of stuff. I'm not saying that's true. But, I mean, last night, was that a statement of Murillo saying, actually, you know what, if you want this Murillo, then, you've got to make sure that you are not just setting me up to succeed, but the whole team up. And so, therefore, does it speak to the setup under Dyche again and what we saw from Murillo last night being a statement?
Well, I think by the utilization of the word freedom, I mean, we've echoed that multiple times. Scott said it, I've said it. I think by using that word, I don't necessarily look at Vitor Pereira as a guy who's going to take swipes at Dyche or any other manager, right? Because I think he was acutely aware of how difficult this position is to be successful in, especially in the Premier League, overall. But what I will say is, to your point of putting this up right now, where it shows his action map, I think it when you allow Murillo to have a little bit more free reign, we know what quality he has on the ball. We know he has a powerful left foot. And the whole weight thing is kind of ridiculous in my mind, because if you ever watch him play, I've never seen a player with his kind of build that has the kind of makeup speed he has. If he gets turned even slightly, he can get himself back into position to successfully defend it. I think of the game against Arsenal where he made a mistake and immediately rectified it by preventing Gyökeres from scoring. So to me, it's kind of silly to think that that's an issue. He's just a thicker guy in general, I think, from a physical profile standpoint. But this map shows, I mean, he was everywhere. And I think that's important because it allows him the opportunity to affect a game in a different way. And when he's playing with that kind of confidence, that kind of freedom, and I'll try not to use the word freedom so much, flexibility, maybe is another word. It definitely allows him to accentuate his strengths, I think. And I think there's enough ability with the team to recognize when he's making those advanced runs that Nico can pull back a little bit. Milenkovic can make sure he's covering that side. Aina can switch up. I mean, there's ways to handle that and to still support that ability for him to utilize his skill on the ball, because You saw it. I mean, he wove through what, 2 or 3 people. He pushed Conte away and then rifled it. I mean, that's just like epitomizes everything that we've seen from him since the moment he came in as a player and what we had hoped to see him. In my head, I envisioned it slightly differently. I envisioned it like a screamer into the top left corner, but I'll certainly take that because we were just desperate to see it before he left because we all know he's probably not going to be here. But yeah, what a player. And the way he commands the box too. I mean, he has such a physical presence. He doesn't allow players a lot of space. His reaction time in terms of balls coming across into the box, his heading has gotten much better from his first season. So just his football IQ in general has really elevated, and it's really miraculous to see. And he's such a special talent.
Thanks to WT Analysis, I've put on screen the Murillo stats there. So please go and follow WT Analysis if you haven't already. It's a fantastic account. And you can subscribe now to the website where you can get even more insight from Will. So we encourage you to do that because it really is a great source of all things Forest. Murillo wanted to dedicate the goal last night to his daughter. It was a special moment for him, he says. And I also quite liked his post-match interview. His English has gotten really good. I mean, he had an interview with Colin Fray 2 or 3, 4 weeks ago when it was actually, you know what, my gosh, it's really good. But he was still a bit broken. But last night on TNT, it was even better than what we've heard. So he's really trying to be fluent, and he talked about that as well. But clearly a manager coming in with Portuguese as his first language is going to be really helpful. And I think Murillo even said that. Obviously, you know, we can communicate better with this manager now. There's an article that's just breaking or just come out this morning from The Guardian, and Murillo hails Pereira after problems with past managers. So quoting him as saying that he now, or the players and he see the light at the end of the tunnel. And so, you know, there's some subtext there that maybe says, you know, 4 managers, he says, 4 different ideas. It's difficult, but I think Vitor is going to stay with us until the end of the season and he can give us ideas to overcome the bad moments that we are going through. So, Vitor Pereira's in the building, Elliott. How are you feeling about him? Obviously, last night's going to help. You're going to be feeling really good. And I want to ask you this as well. Were Forest lucky with that VAR decision? Because after we scored, we 1-0 up, the ball does hit Murillo's arm. I thought that it was going to be given as a penalty because it was Europe. What did you think?
Well, we've seen them given, so I'll mention the penalty stuff first. But yeah, it was just one of those cases where it's impossible to like move that side of the arm like right behind you. It's not really possible. But as I say, we have seen him given, but it was certainly the right decision. That was definitely not a penalty. The ball was coming straight to his arm. There was absolutely no way he could get out of the way. I think the referees are really going to, like after the World Cup, I think they're really going to look at this handball rule and see what is a handball and what isn't. And as for Pereira, when he first came in, I was like I was when I was with Steve Cooper and Nuno. I wasn't too enthusiastic, but obviously, of course, I was proved wrong there. So he's not like the most sort of ideal big name, but at the moment, he is perfect for what we want to do now, which is obviously to stay in this league. To do really well in the Europa League. He speaks with a lot of confidence. It seems like the players have got their confidence and swagger back. They're not playing with like this really just like we are better than you arrogance, but we are playing with that kind of swagger arrogance, which I like to see. It's like when we had under Steve Cooper in the Championship. So Pereira, yeah, he might do well now, but obviously, of course, we'll have to see if he does get pre-season and how well he does. But all I want is just basically to stay in this league. So it'll be an absolute disaster if we do go down.
Yeah, I mean, it is just one game. So, you know, we're going to keep our feet on the ground. Yeah. But I guess everyone was getting very upset about the downward turn in performances under Dyche. I mean, everyone knows that I said I think it was a mistake to sack Sean Dyche because I thought he would get us the points to stay up. It's not going to be pretty. I didn't like what I was seeing, but I thought, you know what, it's the safer option, the lesser of two evils. Keep Dyche, let's stay up. But that didn't happen. So I have been seduced, of course, because that's not a problem. I have been seduced by the Portuguese Pereira that's come in with his wonderful way of putting things, and I'm fully on board. I'm the biggest flip-flopper known to man, so I'm fully behind him, of course. That was never going to be in doubt, Scott. But he's got a way about him that, he talked in press conferences, I want the players to buy into me. And last night, Morgan's interview and also Murillo as well, they both referenced that and says, we are buying into him. We are buying into what they want us to do. So that to me says we were really unhappy with what happened before. This new guy's coming in. It's refreshing. Morgan talked about it in the pre-match about it being exciting. So they're buying into him. I put this on the screen for you, Scott, as well. He said after the match, I know this stadium and its supporters, it's not easy when a team comes here and faces them with fear, but I asked them to play without it and send them a message from the first minute. They started with that mentality because football is not just about tactical things. The mentality is more important. We had spirit, mentality, we're tactically organised, and won because we have talent. How crucial is that mentality side of things going to be for the next 12 Premier League games?
Yeah, I think it's going to be key. I think it's interesting because he only really had a couple of days since he was appointed to actually being with the squad. And so realistically, how many training sessions is he going to have? Probably not many. So I think a lot of it was, and without using the same words again, freedom and quality. But I think it's more about the messaging which he's actually been providing to the team. And as you're saying, it appeared that there was a little bit of a sort of weight lifted off Morgan's shoulders a little bit when he was talking around the impact of the manager. But I think for the next Premier League games coming up, we've got a real tough run, as we all know. I think that he's probably going to stick with the same team and we're going to talk about the team in a minute, I know, but he's going to stick with the same team for the Liverpool game. I think that then makes it, he can potentially free up and play some of more squad players when we do play Fenerbahçe next week. But anyway, I'm sure we'll come on to that. But yeah, sorry, just going back to it, I think he hasn't had that much time on the training pitch with them. I think very much this is around messaging. This is around, as you're saying, talking to the players, letting them know what he expects of them, his expectations, and certainly the language which he is using with them. I think that's going to be a key part of him keeping Forest in the Premier League this season.
Richard, the mentality is something that I think is going to be crucial. We went ahead in the game. We had other chances as well. Let's not forget the Hutchinson cross for Gibbs-White. That was a fantastic big chance, headed straight in. I think that was when it was still, we'd just gone 1-0 up. So there were other things going on and we were dominating. We went 1-0 up, and under Deitch, immediately they would have retreated. You know that's what would happen, but they didn't. They stayed aggressive, composed. So how important was that mentality in turning a strong performance into a dominant one? And then getting a goal from a corner. Igor Jesus loves scoring in Europe. Do you think now that he will benefit from the system that's going to create more chances and a higher XG? Because his goals in the Premier League haven't been as good.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right, because I think that what it's about is about fluid movement. It's about being able to be, aware and conscious of where each other is at on the pitch, so you can get those crisp passing movements going and that build-up play going, and really leveraging your midfield like Scott was talking about. I mean, look, he recognizes it. We've got a guy who's played for England recently in Morgan Gibbs-White and featured heavily as an under 21 for England. You've got Elliott Anderson, who looks like a nailed-on starter for England at this point. You cannot dismiss the opportunity to utilize this talent. And so I think what you're saying as well, Scott mentioned it, or you mentioned it, I think, Greg, that by allowing Anderson to have a bit more license to move forward and leverage his skills on the ball, leverage his vision, because his vision as a passer to me is one of the greatest attributes that he's developed from last season to this season. It's become pretty remarkable to see how well he can switch the field of play. Even Hutch was doing that last night, and they were picking out Callum, making runs on that left-hand side and finding his way into the box. I mean, they just looked much more composed throughout all passages of play. There was one, you even had situations where you had Nico making runs in an inverted position, getting balls from. So just seeing all of that, to me, Greg, to your point, allows you the opportunity to find spaces to get chances and let Jesus continue to progress as a player in the box, to be able to learn how to position himself in a way that will allow him the opportunity to get those goals. I mean, he was in the perfect place at the perfect time and with the perfect trajectory to the front post. I mean, if you're going to get a front post corner and not technically beat the first man, but at least your man is beating the first man and getting that flick on, which Morgan, surprisingly at 5'7", 5'8", whatever he is quite good in the air, and getting that flick backward with Jesus in that perfect position. You know, that's the kind of stuff you need to see from that type of striker. I mean, he's got a little bit more mobility. He does a little bit different things than maybe a Wood does. He certainly doesn't have the same MO as a Taiwo, but I think what you see from him is effort, energy. He can get the ball at his feet and he can distribute. I mean, there's a lot to like about what he does, and I know it hasn't manifested into goals, but hopefully the way the system is structured and it adapts to how the players who they're facing will allow him the freedom to be able to. Man, I gotta find another word, guys. Good grief, freedom. Goodness gracious, we love that word in America for sure, but I don't want to overutilize it here. But yeah, I honestly see him hopefully kind of getting a little bit of a breakout, because if he can end, on saying 6, 7, 8 goals in the Premier League. Because he should have 2 more. We all agree on that. But I mean, if he can do something like that, what a confidence boost that will be for him going into next season too, because we don't know what's going to happen with Wood. And so I do think there's going to be hopefully an unlocking of him, because I think that play that him and Morgan have, that sort of synergy that are starting to develop, to me will be a huge benefit to our club moving forward.
Fantastic. Elliott, several Forest players, more than several, nearly all Forest players, looked completely at ease last night on a big European night. I mean, there was lots of talk beforehand about going to the Lions' Den of Fenerbahçe in the crowd, and there certainly was elements of that. But, we quietened them from the off, and we were very, very good. I don't think they were good at all. But who stood out for you from the Forest team? Who embodied that dominance and that spirit the most? And what did you see from that person in the game that kind of set the tone for the rest of the side?
Just one man, and I'm going to have to say Ibrahim Sangar. I've been a fan of him ever since he toyed with our midfield when he played for PSV Eindhoven in that pre-season. I know some people aren't really into Sangar because
they've changed their mind now, Elliott. I think it was more they weren't into the Sangare we thought we were getting, but now we've got the PSV Sangare. I think we're into him a lot more.
Yeah, it's just over the seasons I've had a few arguments with a few Forest fans on Twitter going, "Oh, he's too slow for the Prem" and all that. But what you need to understand about Sangare is he's not a runner like Elliott Anderson or Nico Dominguez. He normally, if he plays well, we normally play well as well, if that's the right word. We also saw that in the second of Nuno's first couple of games, which was Newcastle, he absolutely dominated that Newcastle midfield with Danilo there as well. And we are seeing, like, if Sangare plays a pivot and he's got 2 8s around him, he can be absolutely brilliant. So we are starting to see the Sangare we wanted to see. I'm dead proud of around where I normally am at the City Ground, around Block P, Upper Bridgeford as well, that we're starting to sing "I Want to Dance with Sangare" and is Ibra Sangare song. He just seems to love it here again. So big up Sangare if he is watching. You are one of my favorite players, and I hope you sign a new contract with us. Seriously.
What a great song.
I hope he is watching. I'm not sure he'll be watching after. If you saw any of the earlier episodes, he probably switched off and thought, God, I'm not watching them again. But no, if he is watching, great. It is a great song. Scott, what about you? I mean, Murillo with his goal. I mean, for me, Sangare I thought was fantastic. I want to name check Morgan Gibbs-White. I thought Morgan Gibbs-White last night was just set the tone. He got an assist. He got a goal, as did Igor Jesus. Those three, Igor Jesus, Sangare, Murillo, Gibbs-White, those four. But they were all good, weren't they, Scott?
Yeah, I think so. You're right. There was, and that's the thing. When we play well, you can sort of call out so many players that would have scored, highly in terms of their rating during the game. Just to go back to what you were saying about Jesus as well. So he's actually he scored 7 goals in this Europa League campaign. He's actually surpassed Gary Birtles for most goals in a single European campaign. Gary Birtles was 6, and that was way back in 78, 79. So great to see Jesus, as you say, scoring lots of goals for us in the Europa. Not quite having that success in the Premier League. Hopefully he will bag a few more. But in terms of man of the match, I think you kind of named them all already. We've spoken around the midfield. Sangare had a great game for me. That pivot role which he played, I thought he played that really, really, really well. I thought Anderson played well as well. I think Morgan also created, scored. It's hard to go past him as well. But then Murillo again, it seemed free. We've got to stop using this word. He seemed to sort of take that chance really well. He seemed more confident. Just you mentioned Murillo earlier, and just with him and Milenkovic, they go so well together. They complement each other so well. So if Milenkovic sort of steps out slightly, Murillo, he has confidence that Murillo is there to sort of mop up behind him. He's got certain speed as well about him. He can mop up. That partnership is absolutely key for us. When we don't have Milenkovic and Murillo playing together, I always think we don't look quite as good. Nothing against Morato, although I'm sure there's a whole conversation around Morato as well. But our first choice back four, Murillo and Milenkovic, and all of them play very well. But going back to your original question, I think man of the match, it was funny because I was watching it on TNT Sports, and I think they gave it to Murillo, but I've also seen another sports channel have given it to Morgan Gibbs-White. I think, I'd be happy with both of those, but I think I'll go Sangare because it is, just as Elliott was saying as well, it's so good seeing Sangare playing well and playing consistently well for us as well, because for the past couple of seasons he's really struggled. He's had illness. He's not quite broken into the squad and had that regular role. But for him now to be in the team, to be a key player in that first starting 11, I think that's brilliant. And he just showed what he can do yesterday. I know we've talked around Anderson and Morgan maybe playing slightly further up, but he can play that pivot role and feed the ball to those guys as well. So I'll go Sangare. Wrong answer. I'll go Sangare.
That's fine. I mean, what I noticed, obviously, you guys have already pointed it out, but it was the 4-2-3-1 formation with our best team probably. Hutchinson gets the nod on the right wing, but the tweak was Sangare playing as a single pivot, as you guys have pointed out, without Anderson going up higher. So, and Sangare's footwork is better than anyone really thinks it is. And the way he kind of like nutmegged one and dribbled around him, his passing, he has always looked for the forward pass. He was fantastic against Spurs at home. We want to give Sean Dyche a bit of credit perhaps as well, because I think the takeaway is that maybe Sean Dyche got started to get the best out of Sangare. Maybe that's fair. Maybe others will say, well, Sangare was always going to be better because he's fitter and healthier. Just to kind of finish the game off then, Richard, we also saw Hutchinson play. As I said, I thought he was direct. I liked what he did. It was good to see him get his European debut. I thought we saw Ola Aina again, much closer back to being Ola Aina that we know about. That matters. Nico was Nico. Ortega pulled off the one save that he had to, and it was fantastic. I'm feeling much more confident with him in our goal because obviously the longer he's in the building, the more he knows us and the more the players know him as well. And so the whole team throughout were great. And Forest won this on XG as well as the scoreboard, Richard. It was nearly 3 XG to us to under half XG for them. I mean, that was dominance, full stop, wasn't it?
It was. I mean, I think it for once the XG is something we can pay attention to and actually buy into on this match, right? Because we actually played above it, slightly above it, based off the score line there, but not by a whole, a wide gap, which is kind of what we were doing last season. as well as converting those half chances. Now, when you have a Chris Wood on the pitch, that's going to happen, right? Because it's just the way he operates. He's so clinical. But seeing it be like you said, the goals. Like if you look at Arsenal, for example, Gyökeres isn't dominating the stat sheets in terms of number of goals, but the distribution of those goals comes across all their midfield, comes across their front line, their attacking line. So when we can start doing things like that, that's huge. And while Greg, I've had to be. I already apologized to Steve Battlemuch and others for my horrible statement about Morgan Gibbs-White the other day about how we could live without him for 40 days. So I've repented for my terrible, statement on that, because what I want from him is assists.
You had a rush of blood, didn't you? That was
a little bit.
You had a rush of blood.
But I will say though, I've been on record quite frequently defending him and with my last breath. So I do think his energy, and Steve brought this up to me in a separate WhatsApp discussion, his energy and the way he sets the tone for the team, to me, is critical. And he did that last night. I think you touched on that, Greg. There is immense quality. And while there may be some matches where he just looks completely off it, when he's on, it's pretty special, and it allows the team, I think, to function in a way that we need to, where we really look like a Premier League side. And that quality that he has, his ability on the ball, because he looks so. What I've liked about him this season too is I'm not feeling as much of the trickery as necessary with every touch. It feels like he's been a little bit more measured, but at the same time, he still has those moments where he can do that, and it's very difficult to defend against because it's you don't know what's coming. I think he defending players like Hutchinson in certain scenarios, trying to take a leadership role in these types of moments. He himself did the video after the match, and I think he recognized how much they let the fans down against Braga, and it was very important to them, and he alluded to that they kind of redeemed themselves for that performance now with these fans traveling to Fenerbahçe, because it is expensive. And he talks about it in that video. He says, you guys spending your hard-earned money. It matters to these players that they do perform for the fans, because they want them, they need to have them behind them. They need that belief. They need that support. Clearly, it maximizes that ability for intense energy. So, but I love the press too, like the way that they pressed the goalkeeper and that whole defensive line as well. I mean, from the get-go, it just seemed like everybody was kind of rowing at the same rate and ready to kind of take control of the match. So, but yeah, I have to give him a lot of kudos because he was absolutely brilliant. But yeah, the whole XG thing, man, and finally, we actually, because we've had plenty of like half XG, had to half XG, and then we end up losing 1-0. And in reality, this time it finally came to fruition, and we fulfilled that XG metric.
A fantastic win away. We take them to the City Ground on Thursday of next week with a 3-0 advantage, and away legs couldn't have got any better. The opportunity to rest key players and get them off the pitch with a good amount of time to go. We saw in the second half Lorenzo Luca come on and get his legs running out a little bit. I still want to see more from him. Still looks a little bit like he's not got great footwork. There was a little bit of link-up play not long after he came off that he ended up rolling off the pitch. But we'll see more from him. It was interesting. We didn't start firing a load of crosses in for him. So we're going to be interested to see how we utilise him. Does that mean that Taiwo might actually supersede him as the preferred backup striker? Because obviously we think Luca was brought in probably for Sean Dyche football, and that is now no longer something we're going to be playing. So keep your eye on that one as well. But yeah, it was great to get rest into the players ahead of this game on Sunday. And also thinking about next Thursday, we can now possibly go out with more changes, making sure that we just keep the game nice and even and come away and go into the knockouts proper. A fantastic night for Forest in Europe. Go on, Richard.
Well, sorry, cut in, Greg. The one last thing I wanted to say, too, is that I know everyone isolated this post-match, but it was a nice moment to see Pereira actually go over to Bakwa as well and put his arm around him. I think that's incredibly important. To Scott's point about man management, I think being the primary goal coming in, I think even Colomos' article, Greg, that you'll probably touch on maybe, he talked about that individual meeting he had with each individual player to try to just help, I think, support the message. But that means a lot because, when McAtee came on, he really didn't get a whole lot of opportunity to feature or do anything. And you can only imagine, like, Back was thinking, man, I can't even get on for 5 minutes. That's how far down the pecking order I am. And that does affect you, I think, psychologically, and it really deteriorates your confidence. So I wouldn't be shocked at all to see him come on in Liverpool, or excuse me, against Fenerbahçe next week, either starting or getting meaningful minutes, because I think he probably has a plan for a player like him too. It was just great to see.
Okay. So that takes care of last night's match. We'll grab a quick break.
This episode of Talking Reds is brought to you by The Cheese Trader. If you love proper cheese and you love Nottingham Forest, then this is the place for you. From rich, creamy blues to powerful charcoal cheddar, The Cheese Trader has the flavour to match every moment of the season. Whether you're celebrating a big win or drowning your sorrows after a tough loss, use the code Talking Reds for 10% off every order. The Cheese Trader on Grape Lane in York, owned by Forest fan Stu Freesto. Proper cheese, proper passion. Find them online today and join the cheese revolution.
Celebrate a win with cheese. I love that. So why not? Cheese is great. 10% off for Talking Reds. All the details are in the bio. All right, we're focusing now on Liverpool coming to the City Ground, a team that have been in better form, it has to be said. And this is Liverpool. They do have wonderful players. But the big news for Sunday, guys, for those that haven't heard it, is that we will be seeing a certain someone in black. The bald eagle, Anthony Taylor, is coming to the City Ground to take charge of this one. So that's a little bit of a curveball being thrown into the mix. We know he likes to have himself in the middle of everything. But focusing on Forest, Elliott, we know last night was dominant. Liverpool are in good form. Is this the perfect opponent, though, do you think, to channel that momentum from last night? Is it the perfect opportunity to come out against a Liverpool team that are going to want to play with the football and actually take control of this game at home against a team that we've beaten their place already this season?
All right. On the referee point, also Paul Tierney is on VAR, and if you can remember him, he's the one that, like when Konate faked a head injury and then gave the ball back to Liverpool, and then they went up the pitch and scored. So that's typical. With Liverpool, we seem to be like what Bournemouth are to us recently. With Liverpool, we've been playing at Liverpool and at our place, and it's one of those weird things with Forest because they play horrible tricks with your mind. Like we always seem to turn up in games against the Big Five, and then like when we go to places like Fulham, etc., we don't win. But we've seen over the past few seasons since promotion how well we have done against Liverpool. So it's just a case of they are there for the taking. They're not immortal. I'm not sure if Szoboszlai will be playing. I don't know about his red card situation with Haaland, so I suppose that's a bit of a boon. But it's just one of those things where if we play the same team, if we play with the same confidence, I'm really, really confident with Nico Williams against Salah. He always seems to play really well against him. And a little known, not my silly fact, but actual fact. The first game we actually played Liverpool in that 1-0 win with Taiwo Awoniyi scoring, Nico Williams was actually playing at left back for that game. And so we've seen that if we really, really turn it on, we can get something out of Liverpool. And also, we can't afford to write games off anymore. So I want no more writing off, no more, we'll just take a point. Every single point in this game now and for the rest of the season is absolutely crucial for us. So let's go into this game, bring your scarves, bring your noise. If we can do that, I think we will get something out of this game. Hopefully
fantastic. That's great because it leads me into the question to Scott, which I was going to ask you. I mean, forget the table, forget where we are. we've only got 12 games left, as Elliott points out, in the Premier League. So what about you? Does this feel like a game where Forest need to be brave? They need to take risks and strike whilst their confidence is high and go for it. And forget it being a free hit. This is a game of football, and we've proven in the Premier League that we can beat Liverpool. I think, we beat them twice at Anfield. We beat them once at home. We're unlucky to lose against them in one game with that last-minute stupidity. So where are you on this Liverpool team? Is it attack and win?
I think Elliott's absolutely right. I think 12 games left. You know, we are, is it 3 points ahead of West Ham at the moment? We're not far ahead. We need to be going out to win as many games as possible. I think we have to take that positive attitude into all games. I think for this particular game, because we're at home, I still think we should go out with two out and out wingers. I think we have to attack. We're at home. Let's be confident. Let's take the game. Let's take the game to Liverpool. I mean, there's that option of potentially playing Dominguez as one of the wingers, but this is a new manager as well. That was in the old manager as well, where Dominguez got played on the wing. So I think we go pretty much the same team. I think we go out to attack Liverpool. I think we've got, I think you're exactly right. The momentum which we picked up playing Fenerbahçe, that feel-good factor, the positive efforts from so many players in the team. I think this is a great opportunity for Forest to take that into this game. And can you imagine 6 points? Well, obviously Europa, it's slightly different. But if we win both the Fenerbahçe game and then let's say we get a win against Liverpool at the City Ground, that will just provide such an uplifting feeling for the players, the fans, and I think that would really put the frighteners on West Ham as well. Because if we go into a game against we're going against Liverpool, beat them, score, get 3 points, then that because it's also we've got to be. We shouldn't necessarily be thinking around who are the teams chasing us, but at the same time, you've got to, West Ham, if we can put more pressure on them, scoreboard pressure or runs on the board or whatever you want to call it, if we can do that, put pressure on them as well. So I think you're absolutely right. We're at home. Let's take the game to Liverpool. We've got that confidence. We've had a really good game in Europe, so let's really keep on going.
Just dipping into the comments, Ant is asking about my hat. I did post it, but there's a company called The Streets Will Remember. There's the link in the comments. They've got some unofficial Forest gear that's quite cool. This hat in particular I quite liked. They've got some Celtic stuff there as well. So they're kind of leaning into, people liking European glory and buying the merchandise. It's worth checking out, guys. I might see if we can get some sponsorship from them now. I might tag them into something. Marine Boy's asking, where do you find the goal, Brazilian style commentary? Well, I couldn't find anything for his goal last night. I do have this. I'll stop that there. We could be here all day. Vitor Pereira has been speaking to Colin Frey. I don't have it to put on screen because I've just found this on X. It's just broken in the last 10 minutes. He says, ahead of the Liverpool game, we need to play with our identity. And that's one of my favourite words when it comes to football teams. We need to create identity. And identity must be something that you believe. This is our way to face Liverpool or to face Fenerbahçe or to face the other teams. We start to work since the first day to create identity, to know how to defend and to know how to attack as a team. And this is the way, channeling his inner Mandalorian.
Wow.
This is the way. I mean, your reaction to those comments from Vitor Pereira, Richard?
I think it just emphasizes what I already felt like you got out of the first interview you heard from him, right? And I think he used the word fearless. Is what he told the boys to play with. And I know Elliott has been the ambassador of not saying the word winnable. Every game is winnable. You have to have that intent and that desire to take that match on full force every time you go into it. There's really no reason for us at this stage to play with fear, because I think, to your point, if there was a criticism of Dyche, I think at times it was being too locked into what he thought was an identity. In reality, it was just it felt like shackles at times. And so I do think that that's the way that they're going to approach this, along with the kind of lineup, as you've alluded to, Greg, and I'm sure we'll touch on here in a minute, as to what he'll field. Because I think if you saw the way Hutch played last night too, he was another player that I was impressed with last night. I thought his touch on the ball was beautiful. I mean, that pass that he did that we all thought was offsides on the goal that Morgan scored, it was yes, there you go. I agree. Greg should get a commission. You should be sponsored, Greg, by at minimum by that group. So, but anyway,
Greg the influencer.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, I think that's what he's trying to do with these guys. Is he's trying to help them understand that he trusts their efforts, and he trusts their quality and their talent level. He mentioned that multiple times. But I think he trusts that back line too. I think he's recognized, both in terms of having to face them as a manager when he was a manager for Wolves, and understanding how capable they are. So when you have that kind of defensive solidity that we built because of the type of players, and they're paired so well with each other, right? I mean, I think, as Scott touched on, like the way Murillo functions versus the way Milinkovic functions, it balances things out in the middle and that spine. And I think having Sangari now operating and firing all cylinders, he really shields that back line as well, because he can duel really well. He can intercept passes. He can, recycle the ball and get the play moving again. So there's a lot to like about what the back six, now with Ortega playing with a little bit more confidence as well, can provide you, and it gives you that opportunity to just let those guys play, and to really show their quality in attack, and so I think he's gonna want to do that. But I do appreciate the fact that he's recognized that there was something missing. Like I said, I don't think it's a dig at Dyche. I just think he just felt like the players probably shared that with him. Like, I really didn't know what we were trying to accomplish. I wasn't sure why I was being asked to do what I was doing, because I didn't feel like it suited my strengths. And so I think he's definitely trying to play to the players' strengths at this stage.
One thing that's become evident to me is that you can't just expect these quality players that we have to buy into running. They need to be stimulated. They need to have faith in their abilities to win football matches by playing football. They need a coach that's going to be instilling into them the discipline that they need, but also the confidence to go and take risks, to go out there. And so when he talks about identity, we had that under Nuno in abundance. We didn't have that under Ange. Maybe we didn't give him enough time. I mean, everyone would have seen Ange on the overlap. If you haven't, go and check it out, because it's interesting. I still think a lot of it is very Ange self-serving. He comes across as a really nice bloke, which is not a surprise. But I also think as well, there's a lot of self-serving going on in there for Ange as well. So I think it's interesting to listen to. He had 8 games. It was a bad fit. There was a lack of identity, and it was never going to change. Under Dyche, we started to have a bit of an identity, but then it became something that we couldn't buy into any longer, because an identity needs to create a confidence that the results are going to be what you need them to be. And when they're not, that's when you start to lose people. And then when the fans are getting lost, some of us, our tipping point is a bit higher. My tipping point was probably a bit higher because I valued the points that were going to come. But it lost on me that the performances were dire.
Yeah, and sorry to jump in again, but I it's just a thought around the Villa performance sticks out as well. It's like when you intentionally make people stay in second gear, like that doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. To your point, Greg, that feels very much like you're not allowing me to have the opportunity to enjoy playing football. I'm just told to stay in second gear, which we all recognize what the mechanics of that does. It doesn't allow for any acceleration, doesn't allow for any opportunity to generate attack, to transition to attack. You just feel like you're stuck. And so I do think that that's an important point that you made. And that's kind of like the only analogy I can think of in my head as to what I saw in certain matches. And I think that's what got people a little bit frustrated. The results were there, but then you have to question whether the results come in spite of him. Did the players just finally say, you know what, we're going to play how we think we should play versus what you're asking us to do? And maybe that's where it started to get angsty for him, because he realized they were pushing back and they were not accepting the fact that this manager was intentionally putting him in a position not to have that license. So anyway, that's all conjecture on my part, but I do think there's some evidence there that supports that.
Good amount of you watching the live. Please do hit like on the YouTube and subscribe. If you're listening on a podcast, thank you for being with us. If you haven't subscribed on your podcast, please do, so you don't miss an episode of Talking Reds. Liverpool press high. They are good. this is a team coming into this. This is a Forest team coming into this, having played last night. They've got travelling to undertake. Liverpool haven't had a game. Against a team like Liverpool, guys, I worry that, we still need to make sure we're disciplined. We still need. It's very likely that we do see Forest sit more in a low block than what we saw last night at certain times. And I think that's what you're going to get with this manager, is that his adaptability seems to be quite evident. It's like, well, look, if we need to sit in a low block, then we'll sit in a low block. But ultimately, we're going to be able to pounce and transform ourselves quite quickly on the break. So I worry that fans will start to become a bit restless if, it is kind of backs to the wall a little bit. Don't forget, this is Liverpool. And I know that they've had a very up and down season, but without looking, I think they're still in the top 4 now or thereabouts, or just knocking on it. So, they are still a very good team in the Premier League. I'm just looking at. Did you say they're 6th? Oh, they are the 6th.
Yeah, 6th.
So they're 3 points behind Man U, but they're still a very, very good team with very dangerous players. We didn't come up with like fresh graphs for this in terms of team, but we think. I mean, this is what we had for Fenerbahçe. I put it on screen. We've all agreed here that we think it will probably be the same team as last night, perhaps. I know that this graph, before you screw me, has Dan and Doyle on the right-hand side. So we didn't have one with Hutchinson. But, I mean, Elliott, are you happy if it is the same team in a 4-2-3-1 shape with Hutchinson playing on the right-hand side? Do you think that's wise? When Dyche played the same team away at Bournemouth after Porto, they were dreadful and had no legs.
So I'm going to say yes to the starting 11, but in order to get something out of Liverpool, you have got to pack the midfield. So it would be a case of I don't think Gibbs White will play in the 10. I think he'd rather play like as 2 8s, if that makes sense. So I think it'd be more of a 3-3-3 formation.
Okay, so I'll put that on screen. I mean, Scott, there's a 4-3-3 there, which has got the back 4 in place. Bringing Dominguez in, maybe. I mean, if you're going to go with a packing the midfield option, is it more wise, do you think, Scott, to take Hutchinson out, put Gibbs White on the right, Hudson-Odoi left, and then you got Dominguez, Sangar, and Anderson in the 3? I mean, he's not duty bound and contractually obliged to play the same team. We want him to be savvy, don't we? We want him to be thoughtful about his selection.
Yeah, absolutely, we do. I'm not sure we'll see that lineup. I think it'd be a mistake to revert to this sort of lineup and certainly pushing Gibbs White on more into a wider position. I think we saw what you can get from him. We've spoken around the midfield of Sangare, Anderson, and then Gibbs White, and we saw what they can do. Understood that Fenerbahçe, they weren't at their best, so maybe that's why we had a little bit of a good play through the middle against them. But no, personally, I think we should stick with the same team that we played yesterday. I think, again, we're at home. If we were away, maybe we mix it up a little. We go slightly more defensive. But we're at home off the back of a really good performance. We're playing against a Liverpool team, as you've said, Greg, who are in okay form. I just looked in the last 6 games. They've won 2, drawn 2, and lost 2. So they're doing okay, but they're struggling, right? So this is, for me, this is a real opportunity for us to continue with that momentum. So for me, I would go same team as last night. Let's put Hudson-Odoi and Hutch on the wings. Really have a good go at them. And then, I mean, thinking as well, because we've got a lot of games coming up. We've got Fenerbahçe on Thursday in the second leg. So we can potentially then either mix things up and potentially play some more of the squad players. But again, this is a really important game. We have to, in my opinion, we have to prioritise the league. Staying up is the number 1 priority. Europa League, winning the Europa League is the second priority. So for me, we go in our best side, our best starting 11. So that's pretty much what you got on the screen there, with the exception of Odoi would drop to the bench and we'd bring Hutch in. But for me, that is our best team, and I would go for that one.
Okay, Richard, are you on the same sheet as the 4-2-3-1 with Hutch in? I mean, Scott makes a good point. We play Fenerbahçe next Thursday, but the 3-0 scoreline allows us to make maybe 4 or 5 changes for that game. So is it a case of listen, lads, go again, give everything you've got on Sunday, and then a lot of you will get a rest on Thursday before we go to Brighton.
Yeah, I would say that's true. I could make a case for the 4-3-3 because I think what Dominguez does do to Elliott's point about trying to control the midfield, because we know that they score vast majority of their goals. I think it's like 66% of their goals are scored from open play. We know what kind of quality they have in that midfield space. They've got Szoboszlai playing out of position. He will be there for the match because he did serve his ban against Sunderland. So he's going to be kind of out of position playing right back. I mean, he's a very talented player. So it's not, and Trent was kind of in the same mold, right? He could kind of adapt and invert into midfield at certain points. But I think with Hutch on the right, what's really exciting about that is that Kirkes is not the best defender on the planet. He's struggled this season. Sorry, Elliott, I'll let you come in a second. He's struggled a little bit, so I think you can take advantage of that. I think Hutchinson's got the pace, he's got the ability on the ball to make that somewhat of a mismatch. Kirkes likes to play higher too, so you can get behind him. And I saw some things from Hutch last night too that I was really impressed with, and just in terms of once he gets accelerating, he can really get around players. I mean, it's not to the same elite level that an Elanga has, but it's still really good. And we know he can put a cross into. He's done that as well, and so he can definitely create problems. And I was very happy to see him after having a bit of a match where he kind of had some issues against Wolves, come back and play with more confidence. And I think Pereira is going to be able to utilize the bench differently too. This is the time where we start to actually see the depth that we bought for the purpose of Europe starting to be utilized in a more appropriate way, I think. Sorry, Elliott, go ahead.
More on your point, Richard. What's also really important in this game is we are going to need the bench. We are going to need to rest players and come off. So, you're right with that 4-3-3 formation. If Dominguez is coming on for Hutchinson, fine. But we do actually need really decent wingers to, when the legs get tired in the second half, to come on. Maybe bring either a Dominguez or a Yatesy on. But what's really important about this game is I really, really do hope that Pereira uses the bench like he did last night, because I thought he was fantastic at doing that.
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing. Deitch's bench strategy was really frustrating, and last night Victor got it bang on. And I know that's going to be crucial, as you guys have pointed out. We are going to have to rely on Ndoye, Dominguez, McAtee, Bakwa to come to mind. Nets. 3-Star Red says he thinks Nets might start on Sunday. Not sure about that. I mean, it would be a massive call for him to start ahead of Nico, or I don't see him switching Nico to right back. Again, it flies the question as to why was Nets left out of the Europa squad. It just doesn't make any sense to me. That was a real head scratcher. I like that Jed Cunha was in there, but again, I just think we've got adequate cover at centre back for what we need to achieve. And I think having fullback cover there is really important. I mean, you could have still played Abbott last night at fullback, which, I wasn't a fan of at Leeds, but it's happened in Europe. Savona's still injured, so he'll come back into the equation as well. I think it's really important that we do utilise our bench. Whoever starts, we've got games coming up in the Premier League where, I'm looking at Brighton, for example, which follows the next Fenerbahçe game. We go away to Brighton, who are on 31 points in the Premier League and have been kind of sucked into the conversation as to who might take up that third relegation spot. It is about what we do on the pitch, worrying about what West Ham do or Spurs or Leeds or the others. What it's out of our hands. If we win all of our games, we stay up. Simple as that. We're not going to win all of our games, but on Sunday represents a real opportunity for us to get points on the board, and we shouldn't be turning that down. Everyone knows Liverpool are a very good team when they play to their full capacity. They've got some very important players. Here's Richard, because we are right at the very end of the pod, with 2 minutes on Liverpool to take us through some of their strengths and weaknesses. Here we go. You're a fast talker, Richard. You can manage this. Come on.
That's true. Real quick, just from a strength and weakness standpoint, like Scott pointed out about he kind of touched on the previous performance in their current form. They are without a few players, obviously, like Frimpong's not playing. Alexander Isak, Wataru Endo is actually injured as well. So they're without some players that provide depth to them. Connor Bradley, who's their normal starting right back, is not available due to knee injury. So got some challenges there from a depth standpoint on their bench. But what their strengths are, this shouldn't shock shock anybody. Great at direct free kicks. We've seen that with Szoboszlai. That's one of his key attributes. Counter-attacking football, attacking down the wings, creating long shot opportunities, creating chances through individual skill. We've seen all that with Wirtz now coming on as well. Aerial duels are good, but they are bad and weak at protecting the lead. That's good for us. So even if they do take a lead, potentially on say like a free kick or set piece or something to that nature, we can hopefully come back we can come back against them rather. They're also bad at stopping opponents from creating chances, so they're getting opened up a little bit more. And if you go to the next slide, Greg, because they are a 4-2-3-1 formation, they religiously play that. We kind of know who the major players are in terms of who operates just the right back position. That's a little bit of a tenuous situation with Szoboszlai playing out of position. But they've got 41 goals for, but they've got 35 goals against. So again, that speaks to the fact that they can get opened up. So I think we have an opportunity to play through the lines, to play through the middle and utilize our midfield, utilize Anderson effectively. Their attacking sides are pretty balanced in terms of where they attack from. And then of course they, as Greg alluded to, they play and operate at a very high line. They're 33% of their action zone occurs in the opposing third. And what's surprising to me about the shot zones is that on the screen right now is that it's only 6% in that 6-yard box, which means they're not getting a lot of goals and really taking a lot of shots from inside that close range in that way. 58% of it's coming from the 18-yard box, which shouldn't surprise anybody because just like a Man City or teams like that, Arsenal, they're really good at finding those small spaces to slot a through ball through or to play a give and go and things of that nature. So we just got to be very cognizant about making sure that when they're outside the box, because they do have shooters, even Gravenberg is a pretty decent shooter himself. So we got to make sure that when it's happening, players are advancing and try to prevent that in any way that they can. Shouldn't shock anybody. Ekitike is kind of their primary goal scorer. Gakpo's come on with 5 goals. Szoboszlai himself has 4 goals. And then their main distributor in terms of assists is Mo Salah. And I think, as Elliott talked about, we've generally been able to kind of control him a little bit. So I'm confident that we can do well against this team. Like we said, they've not been the same team as they were last year, and we beat them last year. I mean, I think we had been the only team up until sort of towards the end of the season that actually beaten them. Because they were really on a significant run last season. So I think we definitely are in their head, as we know the song likes to be sung. So I appreciate the fact that we'll get that chance again this year. And man, doing a double over them, that would be incredible considering what the season has been.
Credit to Sean Dyche for the win at Anfield because we got a 3-0 victory there. And that was definitely one of his highlights. If we're going to win the game, I think it's going to be with a clean sheet because that's where our team comes into its own with its defensive solidity. So Ina Williams, Milenkovic, Murillo, they're going to be really crucial, of course, but it's the winning the individual battles. I want to see this kind of Sangare up against Gravenberch in the midfield. I want to see that battle. I want to see that outcome. I want to see, Igor Jesus going up against Virgil van Dijk, who is a fantastic defender, but Igor Jesus is growing in confidence. I want to see Hudson-Odoi, going down the wing and having a go at Szoboszlai in the right back area because I think he can take him. So look, it's going to be fantastic. It's a huge game. If you're going to the City Ground on Sunday, be loud and be proud. We're out of time. I'm going to ask you guys for your final thoughts. Elliott, I'm going to come to you first because we need to get today's fact from you as well. So today's fact, please, Elliott, your final thoughts on the game and also your score prediction.
All right. My prediction for this is going to be a 1-0 win. Just very quickly as well, my friends over at Red Side of the Trent were on the Call Yourself a Fan show the other day. So Reece, Christian and Alex were on that. They were up against Mark Crossley, Jimmy Bullard and Lloyd Griffiths. So I thoroughly recommend that. And yeah, so as some of you know, I normally just find loads of silly stories and facts that I have to tell at the end of podcasts.
You remember the one from last time with the Aston into the Winter Olympians?
Yeah, so I've got a bit of I've got a cleaner one this time. So today's fact is a few weeks ago on a farm in South Normanton, Derbyshire, a suspected thief was placed under citizen's arrest by some crime-fighting llamas.
Okay. Are you going to give us more?
Yes, I am. Is this working okay? It seems browser seems to have lost connection.
We can hear you.
We can hear you.
We can't see you.
Okay, that's weird. Well, you just need to hear me, so that's fine. So, this guy he robbed tobacco from a woman in South Normanton, Derbyshire, and ran onto a field. And apparently, these llamas they circled him and gave a warning cry, which is like an old man laughing. And so yeah, basically the police came. This man was absolutely terrified. They got arrested, and these crime-fighting llamas were told they were heroes. So that's days. Usual. I'll leave the description as well at the end.
Excellent.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that, Elliott. Great to have you with us. Scott, any closing thoughts in your score prediction?
I think it should be a pretty tight game. I'd like to think, along what Elliott's saying, 1-0, maybe 2-1. Look, we've shown we can score goals against Fenerbahçe again, not a great Fenerbahçe, but still, it's that confidence, right? It's the confidence that we're taking into the game. It'll be it's a midnight kickoff for me here in Brisbane or Queensland in Australia, so I'll probably have to go to bed first before I get up to then watch the game. But a late night game for us, 2 p.m. in the UK, so midnight here. But yeah, just looking forward to it. Just wanted to keep the momentum going. I want us to keep our feet on the ground. Really important that we don't get too much ahead of ourselves. But Forest for the win at home. Go at them. Let's give it our best shot.
Brilliant. Thanks ever so much, Scott. Don't forget, Scott is the Nottingham Forest Australia Supporters Club admin on Facebook. So all of you Aussies down under, Scott leads the charge of making sure you guys can have your get-togethers and keeping you updated with as much news. So thank you both, Elliott and Scott, for being with us. Richard Spray, my bro, my compadre, best man.
Yeah.
Best man. What's your score prediction, bro?
I'm going 2-1. I like the 2-1 scoreline from Scott. I think we win this match 2-1. I want to see a goal from Igor. I think he gets his goal in the Premier League and continues to build that confidence. But and I also want to just give a quick shout out to Pete Blackburn. If you guys haven't subscribed to the Life, Love, and Football, I mean, this is like football soul. We all know how articulate Pete is, and he's a wordsmith for sure. This is like, as he likes to say, dripping with context, dripping with poetry in terms of his utilization of the English language. So bless him, because it's a great Substack to follow. I really enjoyed his articles, and what's nice is you can hit the play button on the top right, and it'll actually read it out to you too if you're like in the car or something like that, and you're listening to it on a walk or something of that nature. So it's excellent stuff.
Okay, thank you. And so my score prediction will be 2-0 to Forest. You know, I love a 3-0 this season has been a good result for Forest. Liverpool away, Spurs at home last night. But I'm going to say 2-0. I think 2-0 to Forest. We're going to be defensively rigid, and we're going to be building on last night with Vitor Pereira executing his absolute MO, which is to pick up points quickly on arrival. In his first couple of games at Wolves when he came in, I think they beat Man U and they beat, I can't remember who it was, but another team that were doing quite well. So this is a perfect opportunity for us now, not to be going into it with fear, go into it with excitement, with energy. We've got good players that can match up their counterparts on the pitch. I absolutely believe that. And it may well be as well in our favour that Liverpool come into this in a kind of a state of the unknown, because they might have said, well, we know Sean Dyche's going to set them up. We're not really quite sure what we're going to get here. So again, we noticed and we've heard before that Arne Slot likes to complain that teams don't seem to set up in the way that he thinks they should. And teams don't seem to approach it in the way that he wants them to. We approach it our way. We're Nottingham Forest and we win when we want. Come on, you Reds.
Come join Greg and Richard right here on